more review. Welcome back to our installment of Scott's Selections here for Saturday, April 17th. Before we get into today's play of the day, a quick recap of what happened yesterday. We're going to pick up a nice easy winner with the Grizzlies -4, -110 in BetMGM. Line actually dropped to Grizzlies -3.5. I have no idea why money came in on Chicago. Chicago without Zach LaVine and Satoransky really struggled defensively, and Memphis really just poured on them in the second half and blew the game open en route to a double-digit win. Dillon Brooks had 32 points, I believe. Pretty sure Valanciunas went 7 of 9 from the floor, and Chicago just simply couldn't keep up offensively. So either way, nice easy winner, and we'll look for another easy winner on Saturday. And for the play of the day, I was going to do an NBA game, and then I realized how bad the NBA card was. Then I thought about doing baseball. Didn't like any of the matchups, so decided to do something that we haven't done in a couple of weeks, if not a couple of months. It's going to be a UFC video. It's going to be a play on UFC Vegas 24. It's going to be on the main event between Gastelum and Whitaker. And for the play of the day, we like the fight to go the distance at -128 on FanDuel. The time recording of 2:03 a.m. Eastern Time. A couple reasons why I like this fight to go the distance. First of all, pretty good line at -128. You shop around, mostly available at -135. I saw Fox Bet had -143, but you can still get it at FanDuel at -128. So I'm going to take those extra free cents to the bank. Now, a couple reasons why I like this fight to go the distance. First of all, both fighters have been really good at avoiding early stoppages while also not doing a great job at putting away their opponents early. You look at both fighters, 4 of Gastelum's last 5 fights have gone to a decision, with the one exception being a submission loss to Hermanson, which took place last July. Meanwhile, Whitaker is the same way. 4 of his last 5 fights have also gone to decision, with the one exception being a knockout loss against Israel Adesanya. Now, looking at Gastelum first, I'll go through both fighters. One thing that he's very good at, regardless of whether or not you like him as a fighter, he does have an iron chin. Gastelum has never been knocked out in his 22-fight MMA career. However, he has been submitted twice, with that one, most recent one coming against Hermanson. However, it is worth mentioning that Whitaker, despite having some early submissions in his career, has not recorded a submission victory since 2011. So Whitaker has pretty much become a stand-up exclusive fighter. And I do think that's what he's going to try to do in this fight. He's going to try to keep the distance, outpoint his opponents like he did against Romero, against Till, against Cannonier, all these guys. I do think Whitaker will try to keep the fight standing and try to do what he normally does, which is inflict damage while also limiting the risk on his own end, which should lead to a pretty long fight. Meanwhile, you look at Whitaker, just as a segue, he has also done a very good job at avoiding being knocked out. The one knockout did come against Adesanya, but this is his only knockout loss since 2015. However, Gastelum is only 5'9", so he should have an issue getting on the inside against Whitaker, who is 5'11". I do think that Gastelum will struggle to overcome that reach disadvantage. But Whitaker has done a great job avoiding trouble throughout his entire career. Didn't get knocked out against Romero twice, didn't get knocked out against Cannonier, and didn't get knocked out against Till. You look at those guys, they all have a lot of power, and Whitaker was able to get through those fights with a decent amount of damage, but he's very tough, and he was able to make it to the final bell, and he won all of those fights. So that's just a good sign for how good Whitaker actually is. But if you want to actually talk about Gastelum and what unique attributes he brings to the table, he is a lefty. He's a southpaw, which is a bit uncommon. However, Whitaker did end up fighting a southpaw in Darren Till, so he does have a bit of recent experience when it comes to combating against lefties, and I do think that will help out. However, Gastelum did change up his fight style a little bit in his last fight against Heinisch. He was on a bit of a losing streak, and then he decided that it was time to kind of quit the wild card, crazy swinging lefty approach, and he decided to incorporate some wrestling into his game plan. Gastelum recorded a career-high 6 takedowns in his last fight against Heinisch, and he stated publicly before the fight and after the fight that he plans on using his wrestling more in the future, which makes sense because he's a pretty solid wrestler. But as a result, I do think Gastelum will try to take this fight to the ground on numerous occasions, and I do think that Whitaker should be able to do a good job of, A, fighting against the takedown attempts, and B, even if he does get taken down, I do think he'll do a good job of limiting damage and getting back to his feet. Now, as a result, I do think Gastelum will try to sit on Whitaker for a couple of rounds, try to eat up some free points, and the judges try to do some damage. I do think that will result in a couple of long and potentially boring rounds, but good for us because we'll have the fight to go the distance. But at the end of the day, both fighters are really good at getting through some pretty difficult opponents when it comes to avoiding being stopped. And I do think that both fighters will do a good job of, I'd say, staying upright and keeping themselves out of trouble. And I do think this fight should end up being a pretty entertaining one. I think Whitaker's probably going to win because Gastelum is taking this fight on relatively short notice after Costa had to drop out. But I do think it'll be a normal Whitaker fight where he controls the tempo. He'll be able to keep Gastelum on the outside. I do think you will see this fight become a little bit boring down the stretch, but Whitaker should end up causing this fight to go the distance. The play of the day, once again, here for Saturday. April 17th is going to be on Gastelum and Whitaker. Fight to go the distance at -128 on FanDuel. That's been the Selma Scott talking to all of you and respect the best today. Bye, everyone.